Hello, and welcome to Toastmasters in the Community. I am Fran Elkison, producer and host of the show, and I'm very happy that we didn't have snow today. We had to cancel last month because of snow, and it really threw a monkey wrench in the plans that we had made. All right, with me today is Ken Raftery. Ken, you're in our No Limits Club and our Smedley Speakers Club. We just, for everybody's information, Smedley Speakers on Tuesday voted with a quorum to take the word advanced out of the Smedley's Speakers Toastmasters Club. This way we can open doors to more members, because in order to join an advanced club, you have to have completed the basic manual and have a regular club as this has to be your second club. So now we can open the doors to the Smedley's Toastmasters Club, Smedley Speakers Club. That was named after the founder of Toastmasters, Dr. Ralph C. Smedley. So thank you everyone who's filling in for people who couldn't make it at the last minute today. I always appreciate people stepping up and helping out as much as possible. I'm the first speaker in this show, and I've chosen as my speech, because we're going in a new direction in a couple of the clubs, I'm doing speech number 9 from the basic manual. It's Persuade with Power. I have 5 minutes, Joan. My evaluator is Joan, lucky you. And my title is An Open Invitation to High School Valedictorians. Hello, everyone. Sometimes people will tell me that they've seen the show, and they wonder why I have the same people on all the time. And I have to explain to them, No Limits Toastmasters Club is the club that we are part of. This is the only place No Limits Toastmasters meets. We're ending our 13th year very shortly. It's hard to believe that we've been on the air for 13 plus years. Started with Joan and me up in the front here, trembling. They had a platform up here, and you could feel Tony Figueroa, who was on the first show with us, and he was shaking so much the whole platform shook. Right now, we just get a little nervous, but we don't tremble and shake like that. We're trying to come up with ideas on how to build membership in our Toastmasters clubs. I want to tell people that you don't have to be a great speaker to join Toastmasters. What would the point be? It's better that we get people who want to be great speakers. Call me. I'm listed on Staten Island Live. You put Toastmasters.org in your computer if you have one. You click on Find a Club. You put in where you live. Comes up with this 5 clubs on Staten Island. This year I'm completing my last part of my year of being the Area 64 director. I will not have that job once July comes. What I want to do with the valedictorians, I came up with an idea, and I was going to call you the week before to ask some input from you, because you are a teacher. I know you're on sabbatical this year, and you're making trips, beautiful trips. You should, well, with all your pictures, you could make a nice scrapbook. But I wanted to run this by you, and I haven't been feeling well, and I just didn't get around to it. But I was wondering, every spring at graduation, there's a valedictorian from the graduating class. That's the highest honor, right? Salutatorian is the second. I had an idea. We, in the past, Richmond County has had young people come with their parent, one parent or both, who has been chosen to be the school valedictorian. And they ask us to evaluate their speech to see if we can help them improve. And I got the idea a couple of weeks ago of opening this up, letting the young people on Staten Island know that if you have the honor of being chosen, I don't know what their criteria is, Ken, but if you've been honored with the idea of you're the class valedictorian, you can make an appointment with me. We have 5 clubs on Staten Island. No Limits meets on the TV show. So there's March, April, and May. Graduations in high school, do they end in May or June?
Usually June.
June, all right. So they would have at least 3 opportunities to get a speaking spot on the show. It would be on DVD. They would see themselves on television. Our show is on TV, Channel 34, every Saturday. The first show we did earlier this morning will be on for the next 2 Saturdays. This Now, the afternoon show, will be on the following 2 Saturdays. So they could see themselves. I would mail them a copy of the DVD where they gave their valedictorian speech. Or, if they don't want people to hear it ahead of time, make an appointment with one of our Toastmasters clubs. You were at Smedley's last week, and that's mostly people, well, there was an advanced club, so we would have a good opportunity to help coach these young people, and I think that would be a service. Also, don't be afraid of being embarrassed. When we make a mistake, we just bail ourselves out of it. We make a joke out of it, and for the people who heard Paul Scharf's response at the earliest show about choosing the number 83, that was all made up. And he thought I had heard it years ago. Unfortunately, I never heard him take credit for that, but I know that we didn't have a number until it became finalized. But he said people have been believing that ever since he was the first district governor of 83. 83 is a good number. A couple of years I'll be there and I won't have to remember how old I am. I'll just pick my district. Okay, so I'm going to let you go. People, if you watch our show or if you read SI Live, when I put the report in tomorrow, if you know any young person who would like to come to a Toastmasters meeting, let them get in touch with me at the end of the show. You'll see my email and my telephone number. Email is the best way to do it. We'll welcome your young people, and the next 2 meetings that we do here, we'll see if we can get a couple of these young valedictorians on the air. And that's my opinion. I think it might be a good idea to give them some Toastmasters experience. Okay? All right. So I am done. So, oh, there's my man with the District 83. Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to live that down, I'll tell you. For a few minutes there, you had me thinking, because they call me when they want to know something, and by that, you weren't even the district governor when that number came in. And you know, I think you know my reasons for wanting to get the new number.
No.
We'll talk on the phone. I'm not putting that on the air. No.
I guess that's not going to be a speech, is it?
No, it's not going to be a speech.
Okay.
I only tell certain friends. But I knew right away. I didn't care what the number was. I just wanted to have the new number and start fresh. Actually, on Staten Island, it was more trouble to go to Manhattan for all these meetings. No parking and all that other garbage. Go to Jersey with 3 bridges. We could get to Jersey, and that was one reason why I chose to be with the new club. All right. So, Paul, let me get into you. You have 6 minutes, and it's public relations, advanced manual. This is your persuasive speech. Sue Brooks is your evaluator. And, oh, yes, this. Okay. Your title is Remove Speaker from Agenda if Info is Not Posted by Sunday. What's the fun? I won't be able to recreate everything the night before the show. So let's all hear Paul's opinion about this. Paul Scharf, past district governor.
Thank you very much, Fran. Yes, remove the speaker from the agenda if the information is not posted by Sunday. Let me start by saying that this presentation is primarily for Toastmaster clubs. But those of you that belong to other clubs, other organizations, listen to what I have to say because it might just help. You see, a Toastmaster organization, for the most part, or a Toastmaster club, for the most part, is a fun meeting. We enjoy the meeting. We have speakers, we have table topics, which is the fun part, and then we have the education part. And when a guest comes into a meeting for the first time, he or she is looking and spotting certain things, like, for instance, the banner for this club, No Limits Toastmasters Club. There's the banner. Some clubs collect ribbons that they've gotten through the years, and the ribbons fill up the banner so that when a guest walks in and looks at the banner with all the ribbons, they might say, wow, interesting club. A lot of club members, and I push it for my club members who have received certain awards, educational awards, when they get their badge, I make sure that they have it and they're wearing it at every meeting. Just think about a guest coming in and seeing 20 people and one person with a badge on. I don't know how exciting that is. But if they come in and see 20 people with 14 people having a badge on, that's kind of impressive. Let's get to what I was talking about actually in the title, and that's the agenda. When a guest walks in, and when members come to the meeting, and they get the agenda, and there's supposed to be 5 speakers, and there's maybe 3 speakers, and maybe 2 of them have their title, and that's it. In Toastmasters, when you put an agenda out, usually the Vice President of Education or the Toastmaster for the evening gets a hold of, or should get a hold of, the speakers to not only get the information on the agenda, but to get the introduction, to make a good introduction of the speaker. So the first thing I say to my club is, if you don't give your information to the Toastmaster or the VPE by the Sunday before the meeting, and our meetings are on a Tuesday, so if it's not there by the Sunday before, you're not speaking. Because we want a complete, full agenda that looks good, and we want the Toastmaster to have the proper introduction to introduce the speaker. So that is the rule that I have and that we have in our club. Not bragging, but we have about 165 or 168 clubs in our district, and my club is probably one of 10. One of the top 10 clubs in the district. Why? Could be any number of reasons. Maybe because of the rules that I've put out over the years that I've been in that club. But when a guest comes in, number one, they want to see a good, active, exciting club. A Toastmaster for the evening runs the show. I don't want to see the Toastmaster in jeans. I'd rather see the Toastmaster in some sort of halfway decent outfit. Don't need jeans and a polo shirt. Speakers, when they get up to speak, they should look or act like the topic they're speaking about. If it's going to be funny, then let them look funny. But if it's a serious presentation, they should look serious. The rest of the meeting is a lot of fun. And all of the meeting is a lot of fun. But Toastmasters is not just communication. It's leadership. And this is what I'm presenting and pushing and showing, that you become a good leader as well as a good communicator in a good Toastmaster club. So speakers, if you don't have your information on time, don't bother speaking. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. How come you don't have this club on your email? You have Brunswick Toastmasters, but you paid dues here. I keep scrolling down, waiting to see when you're going to put this club. Are you ashamed to say you're part of No Limits?
Uh-oh.
And also, someday, I'm going to give a humorous speech here about how I got you to dress like you're dressing
To get rid
now.
of my jeans, huh?
That day that you came over and said, "Do you think I ought to join?" I said, "Not looking like you look." And he hated me for years. Years later, he said, "Do you think I could ever be district governor?" I said, "If you learn how to dress." Manny, who's going to be our district governor next year, I told him all about that time. And when we did a judging workshop at the courthouse in Jersey, and he walked toward me dressed in a suit, and he said, do I meet your do I muster, or whatever he said in those days, because we weren't talking for quite a few years. And he had a lovely dark suit on and everything. I said, yeah, but where's your tie? He said, aren't you ever pleased with anything? So Manny told me that you went after Bill Hood, past district governor, and said to him, why don't you dress like a governor? I said, he said that to Bill Hood? He said, yeah. He said, I'll have to go and tell him that you told me how you got him to dress. Because that day he looked like he was gardening and came in out of the cold.
Fran, I do have a tie on.
Oh, I look at you, Paul.
Okay.
I look.
Thank you.
For a long time, he brought 2 ties here. He said, I don't dare wear the same tie for the 2 shows. Put one on in the morning. You're still carrying 2 ties?
I carry 2 ties. I had this one for the first meeting.
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh,
And this
boy.
one for the second one. This was on yesterday, an hour ago. Thank you very much, Fran.
You're a doll to tease. Thank you very much, Paul. All right, Ken, you're next. And Rachel is taking over as your evaluator. And you're going to write it down and give her that. Okay. Rachel, no, Ken is doing speech number 5 from the basic manual, Your Body Speaks. Joan, Ken gets 8 minutes, please. Yep. And the title is My Grand Adventure. I'm sorry I missed this part of this at the meeting last week, but I'm very happy I'm hearing some of it today. So welcome, Ken Raftery.
Thank you, Fran, fellow Toastmasters and viewers. In 2010, I attended an event in Arizona, and I made a quick side trip to the Grand Canyon. Now, other than knowing that the Griswolds from National Lampoon's Vacation and the Brady Bunch went there, I really didn't know very much about the canyon. You know, I was amazed to discover that there are 2 lengthy hiking paths that lead from the south rim to the bottom of the canyon. In addition, I learned that it was possible to spend the night at Phantom Ranch, which is located on the canyon floor. I did very short hikes on the 2 trails. I was woefully unprepared to do more than a few feet because the trails were sheets of ice and I was wearing sneakers. I wanted to go further, but I knew that it was simply too dangerous. I think what fascinated me the most is that from the rim, one can see the trail winding out like a long piece of string. If we could see the photo and see if you can see the string in my photo. I found it fascinating to think that at the bottom of that string, a whole world existed that those of us at the top could only speculate about. I promised myself that one day I'd come back and hike those trails and stay at Phantom Ranch, which is not as easy as it sounds for a number of reasons. Reservations at the ranch are extremely difficult to secure. They must be made 13 months in advance. Even getting through the phone lines is nearly impossible. There's a very small number of beds available. And I know teachers have a lot of time off, but no way would I ever hike the trails during the relentless heat that Arizona experiences in July and August. However, once my sabbatical was approved for this school year, I knew that now would be the time to fulfill my dream, since classes were canceled during the month of January. Well, I convinced a friend of mine to go, and I began calling the canyon, hoping to find a cancellation. But I kept being told that the ranch was booked solid. But finally, they had 2 nights available in early January. The catch, it was 1 spot only. Well, if my choices were solo or no go, I'll take the former. After all, the next time I'll be off during the month of January will be when I retire, and by then, the hike would be even harder due to my age. While I was excited, I was also extremely fearful. Guidebooks mention all sorts of maladies that could occur. Blisters, dehydration, fatigue, hypothermia are just a few common ailments. What if it rained? Even worse, what if it turned dark before the hike was over? Yes, I did bring a small flashlight, but my hands were already occupied by hiking poles. Did I mention I'd never used hiking poles before? I rented a pair the afternoon before the hike down, and I had a concierge in the Bright Angel Lodge attempt to teach me how to use them. All of these concerns caused sleepless nights for me. I seriously thought about just no-showing the trip. Was it too late to inquire about a mule taking me down? Do note, that's how the Brady Bunch went down. Well, the big day came, and I spent 6 hours hiking down the 6.8-mile South Kaibab Trail. It was grueling, it was tough, but it was amazing. The views were stunning, and it was so peaceful. And a huge highlight was meeting 2 other groups on the ranch who were also, on the trail who were also on their way to the ranch. We'd pass each other every 20 minutes or so, and we took breaks together. We learned about each other. They felt like old friends before long. It was like we were connected by this great adventure. One of the women kindly said that she said a prayer for me since she knew how apprehensive I was. The time at the ranch was so great. No cell phone service, no Wi-Fi, no TV, no radio. And you know, it was good to be away from the problems of the world. I met so many people from all across the globe. Part of me was sad that I'd never see them again, but I was glad that our paths crossed during this crazy journey we all took. But always in the back of my mind was the dreaded hike up. Many people say it's much harder. A shuttle driver who is an experienced hiker told me that he struggles to do it in one day. And he said I'd be wise to split the hike up into 2 days by spending a night at a campground located at the midpoint of the ranch and the rim, but that didn't fit into my time frame. I started the hike up the 9.3-mile Bright Angel Trail at 6:45 a.m., determined to conquer my 3 main enemies: darkness, fatigue, and rain. I made it to the halfway point fairly easily. As if to toy with me, a few drops of rain fell, but then abruptly stopped. I made it to the 3-mile rest house. I was still feeling good, but that's when the exhaustion started to hit me. The trail at that point is an endless journey, up, up, up. Sometimes I take the stairs at my job to the 6th floor, and I get winded doing that. So this was like doing that for hours at a time. I felt my heart pounding at a rapid pace. Was I asking my body to do too much? I had only slept for 2 hours total during the prior 3 nights, thanks to a combination of nerves and snoring ranch roommates. So I certainly didn't have a well-rested body by any means. I kept telling myself, take your time. Don't push yourself too much. But then I had a vision of darkness waiting to rear its ugly head. There are no floodlights in the canyon, believe me. Night falls and you can't see a thing. 9 hours after I began, my eyes gazed at the Kolb studio, which is located on the rim. I knew the battle was over and I had won. At a few minutes, I reached the top and I said out loud, I did it. I turned around and I gazed back at the canyon and I saw the trail winding out down below, so far away that its width looked to be half a centimeter at most. And to think that earlier that day I was out there at that point. They say over 5 million visitors go to the canyon every year and only 1% get to see the bottom. I'm proud to be one of the 1%, and I hope that this story inspires you to fulfill your own bucket list. And a brief add-on is I spent the night on the rim, and the next morning I opened the curtain and I saw snow and ice all over the place. So between avoiding that and the bomb cyclone that New York City got on January 4th, my flight left on January 5th. I was very lucky as far as weather went. Wow. Madam Toastmaster.
Wow. I think I'll sign up for next week. I have nothing going on next week.
Join me next time I hike it for him.
Yeah. That'll be the day. But you did very nice. It was very nice.
Thanks.
Got a lot in. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry I wasn't at the meeting where you told part of the story, but I have your picture in here, but it didn't come out that good. I don't have color printer, so I put it in here someplace. I'll find it in a minute. All right, our next speaker is our newest member. Emmanuel, are you up there?
He's on his way.
Okay, good. Emmanuel Wagar, I guess his name is. We'll get used to that. And Emmanuel is going to do his first speech. He will be, he signed his application today, and we'll get him, I'm going to file his dues with California on March, and he'll be with us from then on. And this is called the icebreaker because you're definitely breaking the ice. You have 5 minutes. When the green card comes up, you've met your minimum, and the yellow is the warning in between. When you see red, you have just 30 seconds to stop, okay? And Ken will be your evaluator. He's going to take notes for you, and your speech title is Equality. Let's all welcome our newest member, Emmanuel Wagar.
Uyghur.
I'll get used to it. Okeson Buffalo's people, too. But thank you very much for joining us today.
Good afternoon, all, and I'm glad to be here at Toastmasters. I hope you guys enjoyed the show so far, and viewers at home, viewers in the studio here. Friend, thanks for having me today.
Thank you. Watch the camera, though.
I will certainly be speaking on equality. Certainly, the Oxford Dictionary defined equality as the state of being equal, having a balance, a status of rights and opportunities. Even the ontological equity of equality also talked about us being created equal at birth. So if we're created equal at birth, and there are so many ways in life that we find ourselves on different planes. We have been treated in different manners, whether you were treated differently through the civil rights movement or you were treated differently at a job. The central thing remains that are we actually equal? Do we have equity? Are we equal as human beings? We look at social justice. Do we experience social justice? Do we have equal treatment when we get stopped by the cops? Why do we have Dr. King fighting for equality throughout his life? Why do we have Gandhi fighting for equality? Why do we have Nelson Mandela also fighting for equality? The human being has about 46 chromosomes, all of us, at birth. We also have the same number of blood count at birth. 2 children will be born the same day in the same hospital, having the same opportunities, go to the same schools, career choices could be the same. You could find those 2 kids on different planes. You could have one person being a CEO and another person being at the bottom. Why do we have those inequalities in our community, in society as a whole? Why do we treat certain folks who choose a certain lifestyle differently? For instance, the LGBTQ, how do we look at those communities? How do we look at brown and black people? How do we look at equal treatment of each other? So it brings us to the question, do we actually have equality amongst us, or are we actually equal? Let's go back to the Bible when God said man was made equal. Do we agree to that? Do we understand the concept of equality? Are we actually really equal? How do we get treated on different planes? The justice system, how does the justice system treat people from different ethnicities? So it's a pivotal question that has brought us to a place to understand the central concept of equality. Why do we have a whole month to celebrate Black history? Why don't we have a White History Month? Why do we have disparity? Well, today I would say that we're equal. We are equal in the sight of God. And at two different points in our lives, we're equal at birth and we're equal at death. At birth, we come plain as we are. At death, we go under the soil and experience the same concept at those two critical and pivotal points. So I just want to thank you today on this very brief synopsis about equality. It's a very, very, very long topic, but I'm glad that you had me here today, and thank you so much.
And Emmanuel, I am very, very glad that you called me about joining a club, and I'm very happy to have you in my club here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very nice. And now we have Sue Brooks. Okay, you got everything set up in the control room, right? I get so embarrassed when I have to call somebody out from the control room because I know somebody has to do that job in there and get it done. All right, Sue, this is going to be very interesting. You're doing speech number 3 now in the basic manual, Get to the Point. You have 5 minutes, and Lucy Kahn is your evaluator, and your title is The Mentor Becomes the Mentee. Let's all welcome Sue Brooks.
Thank you very much, Fran, studio audience, and audience at home. I have the privilege and pleasure to partner with Bill Atkins, the Division F Director, since he is in a few of my clubs. Often, we travel together with some of the other members of our clubs to go north to attend meetings, trainings, club contests, help everybody out. And during those carpool sessions, we talk about various topics such as our dogs, families, and of course, Toastmasters. One of Bill's goals was to become a DTM. And during the course of one of our conversations, he said when he started out, he had no idea how he was ever going to attain the rank of DTM. So he thought, let me break it down into small chunks. I said, well, that's a good idea. He said, how am I ever going to become a district officer? So he learned to talk to the right people to get the people to appoint him, as he was last year, an area director. Things evolved, he planned his speeches, and I suggested, since I became his DTM mentor in one of our advanced clubs, Bill, why don't you just write down what you want, either in a notebook, paper, or even take notes on your phone. Plan out your speeches, plan out what manuals you're working on, and when you want to deliver this speech to this club with this project. So come up with a plan, sign up on the agendas, and make a plan, and then work the plan. All this came out during our carpool rides, as well as casual conversations at the meetings. I had a different challenge. Sure, I've already earned 2 DTMs, I've gone through different manuals, but I had one manual I was struggling with. The professional speaker manual has speeches that range from 15 to 20 minutes. Obviously, we're not delivering them here on TV, where our limits are 5. During one of the carpool rides, I said to Bill, I'm struggling with the sales training presentation. I don't know what to speak about. I'm kind of frightened. It's a little intimidating. I was reading through all the components. What should I do? I knew Bill had run a successful business and recently retired, so I knew he was a good person I could bounce ideas off of. So I became his mentee for this particular project. Some of the advice he gave me was, don't make it about selling. Making it about how you're helping the customer will surely win them over. I thought about it, went back to my manual, read it over and over, highlighted with yellow, broke it down into components, and I understood what I had to do, but I wasn't really sure what I was going to talk about. Various conversations later, in the carpool rides, I thought, well, maybe I should talk about Pathways, our new educational program coming up. And he said, well, that's good. That could be relatable to the audience. I booked a slot at our advanced club and delivered the presentation. I was also happy to see and hear that former District Governor Ann Gilson was also talking about Pathways that night. But we weren't speaking about the same thing. My speech was a success. One of the members in the audience decided to sign up to become a Pathways Guide. I earned Best Speaker ribbon that night, which totally shocked me because here it was in an advanced club. It was well received. I completed my advanced communicator bronze. Norman became a Pathways Guide, and I'm really happy to report that 2 days ago, Bill Atkins filed his advanced communicator gold and his DTM. So the mentor became the mentee, and we all succeeded. And we're looking forward to a wonderful journey as Pathways rolls out in May of this year. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Sue. Thank you very, very much. And by the way, when it gets near at the end of our Toastmasters year at the end of June, if anybody in our club or our crew needs to complete one of those longer speeches, give me enough time to prepare the agenda. Okay? Don't let an opportunity pass you by when we have the opportunity to help you out here. All right, so now we're going into our evaluations. And on this show, I was the first speaker. Joan Marizio is my, oh, thank you, Joan, you're up there already. Okay, Joan Marizio.
Pinky applause for me. Loud applause for Fran. Fran, this was a very nice speech, and I think it's a great idea. They want to know, and short, I'm just going to say everything's in the row, all excellent on checks as far as what you did. You did achieve projecting sincerity and conviction. You are a credible source of information about this topic and many, many others. Did she phrase her appeal in terms of the audience's self-interest? I thought so. The opening did capture our audience attention. Did the speaker use facts and logical reasoning to support the ideas? And I said, yes, she did. Her views were coming loud and strong. Did the speaker properly use emotion to persuade the audience to support the views? And there I gave it a broken check mark because I really don't think emotions cut it. I think understanding this more and looking at logically will do a lot more than emotion would. Was the speech organization effective? And I said, yes, it was. Your body language is good. Your vocal variety was very good. And you persuaded us to accept your views. What did you do? What could you have done to make it more effective? I said, nothing. You were great. And what did I like? I like the fact that you're always encouraging. It's always a kind of a fireside chat, too. It's very friendly. Not to be embarrassed and promise to help for people that are shy about doing things like this. You did a great job, as always. And I'm going to annoy myself until I give this back to you by keeping my pen in it.
That's right. Yes, I need that for another speech. Thank you very much, Joan. Thank you. Just call me FDR with the fireside chats. Okay, and Sue is evaluating Paul Scharf's speech. Oh, you're back again? Hi, Sue.
Thank you, Fran.
Okay.
Paul was tasked with persuading us in the persuasive speech from one of the advanced manuals. Paul, you did a great job persuading us to adopt your viewpoint. You began by telling us that your presentation was geared initially for Toastmasters clubs. However, other organizations can use these tactics as well. I was initially intrigued by your title, Remove Speaker from Agenda if Information is Not Posted by Sunday. At first I thought that was an instruction, but then I said, yes, that's his title. Okay, so I was really thrilled and excited and piqued my interest. I thought you related to everybody. You were definitely persuasive. I like the techniques that you used by giving us concrete examples that your club is one of the top 10 clubs in the district, and maybe it's because of the rules that were implemented. You also emphasized that in addition to all the prepared speeches and table topics, you have fun. Why wouldn't you want to join such a great club? One of the other persuasive techniques you used and described was that it wasn't just for speaking opportunities, but to develop leadership. So again, that was another persuasive reason. You spoke about the banner, the ribbons on the banner, having your agenda all filled out, and how important it was to have a full, complete agenda and a proper introduction for the Toastmaster before the meeting begins, or else you would be removed from the agenda. One of the things I wished I could have seen was the badge you pointed to and showed us. I didn't see it because of the height of the lectern. So if that was the visual aid that you were trying to show us, it didn't come across. I would have liked to have seen that. Another example is perhaps you could have showed us one of the agendas. Overall, it was persuasive. The only thing I don't know is I can't always dress professionally if I'm coming right from work. Some people wear a uniform or work in a casual environment, so changing clothes might not be an option. Thank you very much for a wonderful speech.
Thank you very much, Sue. Thank you. And now, Ken's speech is evaluated by Rachel. You're back out again.
I am.
Peter said, I'm not going to have too many people in that control room today, am I? I said, no, Sue will be there. She can run around a few times, and Paul will be out here. And then when I saw you, I figured, oh, and then Peter said, whew, Rachel's here.
All right, so Sue mentioned the badge. I wanted to show off my badge. And I know, Rich, if you could just zoom in on it, I'll hold it here. One of the things I wanted to show you is one of the awards that I got, and that's on the lanyard right here. That's called the Triple Crown. That means I completed 3 projects within the same Toastmaster year. So that was a very significant accomplishment for me. And so when we talk about the badge and we talk about some of the pins that go on the badge, that's one of the pins that I wanted to share with you. And Ken, I hope to see you with some of these badges. You've done an excellent job. It's very difficult when we're on TV to be able to keep within the box. And you did an excellent job of staying in the box. The hand gestures, the movements, the ability to count off the different points. As you can see, I just tried to do it, and it's very difficult. You really had to be able to think about what you're doing and showing it in, and I know you must have done a lot of practice in front of a mirror. All of the different things you did, showing us how you climbed up those trails. It all came together very clearly. The purpose of the speech was body language and your body speaking. You had good facial gestures, your eye contact, the movement of the head. Everything accentuated what you were saying, and it really brought everything together. The picture of the canyon was shown, and then it was shown again, so the audience had that visual mind as you're talking about it. And it all came together very well. So I thank you and look forward to you sharing some of your awards with our club.
Thank you, Rachel. And with the other 2 times that you can take 2 more sabbaticals, right? For every 7 years, is that knowledgeable? Can I say something about that?
I think that that's the case, but I'd have to look
You're
into
hoping
it.
it's the case.
Yeah.
For every 7 years, you get a year off to pursue other ventures. You're making the best of your time at this, I'll tell you. Okay. Oh, now you're going to tell us what you thought about Emmanuel's first speech. Were you
Yes.
able to take some notes there for him?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Well, thank you, Fran, fellow Toastmasters viewers, and especially Emmanuel. Well, first of all, I think you deserve a lot of credit for doing an icebreaker on a cable show, because most of us do it at a small meeting when there aren't too many people there, so I give you a lot of credit. You had a very confident manner, which was great, and I liked how you gave a definition at the beginning of your speech. You also asked a lot of rhetorical questions, like, are we really equal? That was an effective technique. The gestures were good. Often you seemed like you were making a scale gesture, which was appropriate if the theme of the speech was, are we equal? And that was a great line at the end where you spoke about something about we all wind up in the ground at the end of life. That was good. As far as a suggestion for improvement, I thought maybe at the beginning you could have started with like a question, like the way it was, you just said, like, I'm going to be speaking on equality. Because in fact, going back to the canyon again, I'm going to relate this to your speech. There's a sign there, and it says, it doesn't say safety, because if it said safety, people would say, oh, I know how to be safe. It says, could you run the Boston Marathon? So you immediately stop the Boston Marathon. What does that have to do with it? And why are they asking, could I do it? And you read it, and it gives a story about a woman who did run it, and in the end, she actually had a fatality in the canyon. But the point is, like it's that question that makes you stop and read the sign. So maybe since you use questions so effectively throughout your speech, maybe you could have just done it at the beginning. But other than that, an excellent job. I wrote, this is a sign that you will be an exceptional addition to the club. If this is how you were doing on your first speech, can you imagine what the 10th speech is going to be
He's
like?
got a nice voice too.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. See, I made a copy of your picture, but
Oh, okay.
without color, it doesn't show up that. But I keep track of what I use through the shows by putting people's pictures in when they send them to me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and Lucy, you're going to evaluate Sue's second speech today. And let's see. Yeah, I had to email her the other day because I thought she made a mistake. And I said, do you really want to say the mentor becomes the mentee or the mentee becomes the mentor of the new person? She said, no, I did it right. So I figured, okay. I just didn't want to make a mistake when I was reading it off. Okay, Lucy, go ahead then.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster.
We're in the afternoon now, Lucy.
Good
I know it's been a
afternoon,
long day.
fellow audience, and especially Sue. Sue, your title is really good because sometimes a mentor can be a mentee, and especially today's age, we become a mentee for our generation because sometimes we don't know what's going on, especially with technology, and we really need some young kids to teach us how to go on your internet and how to go online and everything. But I like your point because it says your speech is, the purpose of your speech is get to the point, and you did it. And you also have achieved the specific purpose of having somebody to help you out, and you become, being a mentor, you become a mentee for your specific project. The other thing is that you have no notes, which is the best way about this guide that, this manual that talking about the speech that has to be get to the points, and the most important thing that there is no notes. You did good in explaining everything, and the only thing that the speaker have done differently is that maybe you could explain more about the pathway, because sometimes you're talking about the pathway and how you want to teach the people about pathway, but some people doesn't understand what pathway means, so maybe you can give a little overview of what that is. And also, it's nice to become a mentee, even if you're a mentor, because right now we need to learn more specific problems, and we need to be able to accept things from other people. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Lucy. And now we're going into our table topic session. And let's see, Rachel, you need roller skates or a scooter. Okay, Rachel.
Yes, Fran.
Can you tell us about 3 toys or games you played with when you were a child? Rachel Weiss.
3 toys or games that I played with when I was a child. I can think of one game that I played with a lot, and that was Lego. If you remember what Lego is, it's little plastic blocks that snap together. And why? Because my grandmother was in Austria, and she had sent to us every year at Christmas time a small box of Lego blocks. It was for me and my brothers. Each of us got a small box. And in order to make something, you could make what was in the box, but if you wanted to make something bigger, you had to share. And it was a way of us learning how to work together and how to share to make some of these huge, fascinating things out of blocks. Why do I say Lego blocks? Because I am an engineer, and I attribute that knowledge, that practice, that play with having gotten my mind to start thinking in terms of being an engineer. The next toy that I have that I remember very well is my doll, and how my grandfather made a crib for me to put that doll in. Now, you say, well, grandfather made a crib. Well, you have to understand, my grandfather was a cabinet maker, and he was German. And so that crib was nicer than any bed that you probably could have purchased in a store. And I still remember that, and working with my grandmother on the sewing machine to make the sheets and the blankets and the pillows for that crib. So those are two of the toys that I remember from my childhood that I loved very much. The third, you might not call a toy, but it was a toy, and that was my mom's Brownie camera. It was a 120 millimeter camera, so it was a square piece of film. And that got me engaged and involved in photography. And photography is still a hobby that I love. One of the things that that hobby led to is me getting photos printed in the newspaper and making money to pay for my college education. So those are the three toys, Fran, that I remember from my childhood.
What a sneaky grandmother you had.
Huh.
What a sneaky grandmother. Very good, Rachel. Very good. I had a scooter. I got it, and it's in the, I think it's in the rafters of my garage, because I wouldn't, even though it got rusty over all these years, that scooter, unless Peter put it up in the attic, I'm not sure, but I can remember when I saw that scooter and the other kids were using their roller skates, but I was on the scooter.
Huh.
Well, you're so young. Do you relate to that at all?
Yeah, some of it.
Really?
You know, I'm sure today's youth it would be even harder. But
They
then
don't
it's the
have toys and
electronics.
games. All they have
Yeah.
is these stupid technical things
Yeah.
that nobody can understand. At least nobody of my vintage. Hello, Paul.
Hi, friend.
Oh, Paul, this is a two-parter.
Okay.
So listen carefully. What is the best advice a stranger ever gave you? And what's the best advice you ever gave a stranger? Paul Paradise.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What was the best advice a stranger ever gave you? I have to think about that.
Would you like to sit down for a minute? I'll ask the next
No,
question.
no,
You
no,
can
no.
come back.
I can think of one thing. It wasn't necessarily an advice, but it was one time. It was a homeless person, and it's just this is an incident I'll just relate to you. And I used to give him money from time to time. I used to give him $1, and he was kind of a derelict. And then one day, I went out of my way to give him $1, and then he wanted me to buy him some liquor, which I thought was kind of interesting because he was over 21, and I just thought, why don't you go buy your own liquor? So I refused to do it. And then as I was walking away, he called to me, and then I looked back, and he took my $1 and he ripped it up into little pieces, and I said, my God, you know. I mean, I worked for that $1, and I was very upset that he did that. And for a long time, I didn't talk to that guy, and I was very, very angry. And then it took me a long time to get over that. And then after a while, I realized, I said, you know, he's a derelict. And then it took me a while. I gave him $1 again. And then he eventually apologized to me. And he said that I gave up, I was drinking, and I eventually gave up drinking. And the fact that he apologized to me, I thought was like kind of like in the Christian principles. I forgave him, and we became friends again. So I thought that was a very, very interesting story overall. So I learned something from that, and I think he did too.
And you've remembered it all these years. Thank you very much for sharing, Paul.
Okay.
You are a very interesting man. All right, Lucy, are you coming back? Okay. All right, Lucy. Now, this is a very special question. I want a nice, honest answer.
Wow.
Okay. Lucy Kahn, if you were asked to bring one of Richard's favorite dishes to a potluck dinner party I was having, what would you make? Lucy Kahn.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and guests, if I'm asked to get a favorite dish for potluck, I think Richard likes to to cook chili. And the chili that he has is different chili that anybody has, is from his own recipe. So I hope that if you happen to taste his chili, you will like it just like his brownies. Thank you.
I hope you heard that, Richard. He's got the headphones. Maybe he doesn't hear it. Okay. Ken, you want to answer one of those questions?
Yeah, sure, Fran. I'll do it from here. Well, I was thinking.
You don't have much choice when you're mic'd.
Because you looked at the lectern.
I was seeing if
talk
anybody
about
walked up.
Toys from your youth. And I actually have a photograph. Well, my parents have it in the album. It's dated Christmas Day of sometime in the early 70s, let's put it that way. And I'm holding an Ernie puppet, you know, Ernie from Sesame Street. But I have this, I still remember the puppet very clearly. It was, you know, obviously you can put your hand inside of it, but the face of the puppet was made of rubber. And I think years later they made an updated one, but then the face was made of felt. But the rubber one was a very good construction. I believe they probably made it for several of the characters. But it makes you wonder, with all the technology we have, I talked about self-checkouts before, and cell phones and everything, why is it that toys are of a lower quality now than they were then? I mean, that was a much better quality toy than what you would see now. It's probably because to make a good quality thing costs money, and then they would have to pass the money on to the consumers. But in some areas, things haven't gotten better, I can tell you that.
Very good. Now, just so that we're just almost about out of time, but I just wanted to put something out there for our listening audience. Not that anybody's asked me personally, but we try to keep the speech topics on a general nature, okay? With all the turmoil in the world, we don't, in our clubs, we really don't get that involved, okay? I did a few months ago, maybe you were at the meeting at the Staten Island Club, when somebody completely vandalized a man's car. It was a race type thing, and they damaged the car. And Peter and I take our car to get repaired, JoJo's Body Shop on Page Avenue near Tottenville. When the car was brought in, they offered to fix the car and wouldn't charge them at all.
Yes.
And that was very good. Those aren't the things that normally we bring up at Toastmasters. Things I really liked our newest member's speech today. Very honest, objective conversation there. And he could have talked about that over a cup of coffee or anything. What I like is that somebody is free to talk like that and doesn't have to be afraid to talk like that. I think we need to hear things like that. I mean, we all have something, you know, I mean, I've got too much weight. I'd love to be skinny as Danielle outside, you know, and